In the previous video, we saw how we can create a montage using audio files, video files, and how we can use the alpha channel with the images and also with sequences of images like this 3D animation, for example, in order not to have a background so we can place anything on the back. So we saw again how to import different types of files, and also in this video we're gonna continue because we mostly worked with raster graphics, meaning that we worked with graphics made of pixels, but there is also another option or another way, another type of graphic, which is vector graphics or R vector graphics. Now, when we work with alpha channel, one thing we can do, and something that we're gonna see next is gonna be the source panel and the program panel. But right away, if we right click here, we're gonna have, as usual, our menu here, a pop-up menu with the extra options. Now you can do this both in the program and in the source. So if you right click, you can visualize the alpha channel. So if you go into display mode, now we are looking at the composite video, but if I click on alpha, I can see only the alpha channel. So this is a way you can actually visualize what's going on in your in the alpha channel. And here I also brought a PNG with the logo, so I need to turn off some of the layers here. So you can visualize also the overlapping like alpha channels that are in the tracks. Now we continue here with the new file, so I'm gonna close this project. I'm gonna start, and there's another one here. You can see the alpha channel. So I'm just gonna close all the projects, and I'm gonna start with a new one as usual. And in this case, this is gonna be our lesson 05. And as usual, you can choose a location for your project, which is a good way. It's a good costume to specify a project folder. So I'm gonna call this project 05. Select the folder, and we didn't use a template in the previous video, so I want to go for another template. We checked the standard template. I want to show you also the social media template right away. Now, templates are a good way to have like some things set up, and as it's saying here, it's gonna set up for the social media field. So I don't want to import anything at the moment. Just want to open up the project, and I don't want to copy medias. I don't want to create a new sequence, and I don't want to do anything else like transcriptions and other stuff like this. So I'm just gonna create this right away. And there you go. Now this is a social media template. And as we can see here, it already comes with a lot of different sequences. But where are the source files? We don't have any source files. We only have caption styles, which are styles that we can create for the text mainly. So what are all these things? So if I open up, let's say this one here, double click on the sequence, there you go. Now everything that is in this sequence has been generated within Premiere Pro. So if I see that we have some graphic, we have a blue background, and then we have some text. Now we can consider this to be vector graphics because if we change the size of this, it's never gonna lose quality. I can like resize, rotate, transform, and type whatever I want in text automatically, dynamically here in Premiere Pro. I don't need another software, and I don't need pixels for this. These are not made of pixels. They are made of parameters that we're gonna see they're gonna appear here on the right side. And so if I move on, we can see other like templates here for mobile phones, tablets, and this is kind of a folder graphic. So with vector graphics as well as with raster graphics, you can create infographics, you can create mockups, prototypes for apps, or whatever you want, like test, simulate the mobile phone user interface, user experience, do some prototyping, some presentation, wherever. Now here in the timeline, we can still see the video tracks. The audio tracks are empty because these are just graphics. And plus we have some additional, which are these captions. So these are kind of tracks, but they only display text. And if you click with your mouse, you're gonna select like all the parts of this composition. And if you double click, for example, I want to go here and double click, you can see I can enter this text and I can customize this text, which also has a style already. Now you can use templates to learn more about how things can be done in Premiere Pro, and this is an opportunity here. But we're just gonna go forward with more examples of importing things. Now, one thing that may happen when you open a template or another file, another Premiere project, is that you're missing the font. Now, in my case, when I first opened this template, it just gave me an error, and probably it's also happening to you. Now, in that case, you need to install that font, which is not currently in your computer. Now, if we go in the web, let's go and start to do some theory here. Now, first of all, vector graphics, what they are and how they differ from raster graphics. So you can see there are a lot of explanation about this. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but essentially we have two types of creating graphics using software like Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator. So the raster graphics are made of pixels and they are usually more realistic, like photos, pictures, and things like that. And vector graphics are usable for logos or more clear graphics or cartoon-like graphics. So they are more less realistic but more defined in a way. And also usually we use vector graphics because they don't lose quality. So a raster graphic is made of pixels. If you scale it up, eventually you're going to see little pixels. Vector graphics or text, you can scale them up or down. You can resize them how many times you want. They will never lose quality. That's something that happens only with raster. So raster, they lose quality if you resize them, especially if you increase the size. Vector graphics, you can just resize them as many times as you want. Now, also fonts can be considered as vector graphics. So if you're looking for a specific style, there are a lot of free font, and we also dedicated other video guides on how you can search, find, download, and install the fonts, or also how you can create your own graphics. For example, there is one software called calligraphy or calligraphic, sorry, and calligraph. There you go. So we have some videos dedicated to this. If you want to create your own font, it's basically like working with vector graphics. Now, in my case, this was the font that was missing. It was called Arial Rounded Empty Bold. So I made a search in Google and I found it. And there's also a Wikipedia page explaining this particular font, but there is no font file here, only a PNG. Now the PNG is not enough when you want to download and install a font, when you want to import a font. So you need to look for the actual file, which is going to be a specific file format. And so when you search, you can find a lot of websites that are giving a free many types of fonts. So in this one here, if you click on the download, you just say I'm not a robot and then click on the file, and that's gonna be then in your download folder. If you follow the link on the Wikipedia page, also you're gonna find here font in Inkscape. What is Inkscape? It's a free open source alternative to Adobe Illustrator, and these are all the fonts that are already installed in Inkscape. So probably these are all open source fonts. So let's say I want to download another one of these, like this one here. So I can have a preview here on Wikipedia, and that's called the Berlin Sans. So if I copy this name and I paste it here and I do a search, I may be able to find also this other one. And you can see how many websites are out there to download these fonts. So I already created other videos about how to create fonts and customize fonts, so you can download this. So you can look for font in the channel, you'll find other videos about this. But essentially also here we can download, and it's going to download a zipped folder. I'm going to save it here in my download folder, save it, And once it's finished, I'm just gonna open up the folder here and just extract this, right click, extract, unzip the folder. And all you need to do is double click and install it. You can see this is it contains more fonts. So I want this one here. So double click and just install, clicking on the install button. Once it's installed, you can find it in any software, not just Premiere Pro or Photoshop or Illustrator. You can find it anywhere because it's installed in your computer now. And so again, we already explained this in other guides in the channel. And I'm going to close this. So vector graphics can be done with Adobe Illustrator, as we already said, but also we have some alternatives like GIMP. It's a free open source alternative. It's more similar to Photoshop. If you want the best alternative to Illustrator, you should look for Inkscape. And that's going to be another vector graphics. And there are also others like Krita or ColorDraw and others. But search for them. Again, in the channel, you'll find other courses about this, especially Inkscape. And so if you don't want to create your own vector graphics or your own text, you can also search for, as you did with the font, you can search for free SVG. SVG are scalable vector graphics, and you can find a lot of those, and more probably than AI. AI is the format for Adobe Illustrator, which is the best to work with Premiere Pro. But you can also search for SVG, and then you can convert them if they don't work. Now, there is another last option online, so you don't need to download or install anything, which is vector.com, and it's an online site that will give you the possibility to create vector graphics. And again, this is explained in another course in the channel. So about free SVG. So let's say I don't want to create any graphic on my own. I just want to download something, and I can use one of the website here that will give you the possibility to do this. So let's say I want to download this file right here. First, check if it's public domain. This is all the information and the author, if there is an author, etc., etc. So I just want to download this SVG file, and let's keep it organized. So I'm gonna create an SVG folder, and I'm gonna save this right here and save it. Okay, so if it doesn't work, opening it with the SVG format, you can use the converter, SVG AI converter. In this case, I've chosen this one here, the MC converter. So before we use that, let's try. So I'm gonna go to right click, import. I'm gonna go in the SVG, Jaguar, open, and you can see it's giving me a problem. And I don't really understand why, because this is, when I go to import, you can see that these are the list of the possible formats, and there is a specific format, SVG file. So they are recognized right here, but I cannot import it. Now we can also use another panel to import, which I think is really useful. And if we go to Window and look here on the bottom, we need to look for the multimedia browser or media browser, or Shift 8 to open. So that's another panel that's going to give you the possibility to navigate in your computer, searching for assets. So I want to look for here the SVG folder. And well, usually if something is usable, we should see here a preview. So the fact that we don't see a preview is something that is not going right. So as I said, one workaround that I found is just to look for a converter and convert the graphics in AI graphics. So let's convert the file here. I'm gonna drop the SVG, or just click and browse and get my Jaguar here, open it up as a SVG, and then choose the format I wanna convert it in. So I'm gonna use AI, that's it, and start, and just wait. And it shouldn't take too long. I'm gonna save this directly in the AI folder, jump back in my Premiere Pro, and there you go. I see my file right there, and the multimedia browser has just updated. Now, there are also other features here, but also here you can close, and usually you have some settings for each one of these. You can see here we have import as image sequences and create folder for imported projects, wherever. So you have extra features here, but let's just go directly here, right click, and just import. So now this one here, it's inside my project. But let's see something. If I go here in the project panel or to the right, I have the size. So you can see that even though it's vector graphics, it does have some resolution here. So it's almost like 1K. So it's not really big. So in order to manage vector graphics files at the best, you need some of those software that I've just showed you before. So like Inkscape or Illustrator or Vector, so you can manipulate if you want, you can customize it, edit it, and wherever. And so in this case, we're just gonna keep it this size. So all I need to do here is just click and drag it again in my composition right here or in the timeline directly. Let's bring it here. So now I can see the Jaguar, their head, and the rest. So you can see it's really nice and sharp. This is a characteristic of vector graphics, but they, in a way, they're gonna be then compressed into an image format or a video format. Now let's start to use also some of the other buttons here on the program or the source. So we have here the possibility to increase the zoom. So if I zoom like to 100%, we can see even though it's pretty sharp, we can start to see some pixels. Let's try to go even further, like 800. And we don't really know where we are right now, but you can see now the pixel right there. So, and also on the text. So even though they're not made of pixels, we can see the pixels because this is how, everything will come out. The final output will be in pixels because these are just videos, and videos, they have pixels, they have compression, and in this case we can see the one here. This is called, let me see here, Instagram vertical, and which one is this? There you go. So you can see that it does have defined resolution. There you go. It's just 1K. So if I can click this and bring it right here, so these are the pixels. Anything you do in here will be converted inside those pixels. I want to go back to my Jaguar. I just turned off the caption here. I don't really need it. So when I click, and be careful because right here we are using the selection tool. So in this bar, you can find the tools, and at the top you have the selection tool, which is like the basic. So when you click around, you can select pieces of your composition, and so if I want to select the Jaguar here, and I want to make sure to select that, I can also like lock the other layers. So now I am sure that I'm gonna select the Jaguar. And you can see this little box around. This is gonna help you to reduce the size or increase the size. And again, you can see the vector graphics will be, will have more quality in terms of pixels than usual graphics. And then you can also rotate by clicking on the corner or just a little bit outside the corner. If you click exactly on the corner, it will resize. So you can resize, you can rotate, and click again or double click to select it if you accidentally unselected. This one here is the pivot. So if I change this here and go back to rotation, you can see that it's going to rotate the graphic around that pivot, and you can move it. If you click on in the middle area here, you can move it around. So move, rotate, and scale, the basic transformation that you find in any software, either if it's 2D or 3D. So we can also work with text. So texts are here. So I'm just gonna unlock the other graphics. Let me see. I think this one here is a text. No, let's see if this one is a text. Okay, so this is a layer with a text. And to resize this, well, if I click on the side, it's not gonna resize the text. I can still rotate it and move it. this is the pivot point right here. But to resize this, I need to go inside. So double click to get inside, and then I can underline to substitute a text and just type mine. So customizing text. And this is probably one of the easiest thing to do because it's just typing with a Word application. Now, where is the rest of the customization of the text? So if we expand a little bit here on the right, we need to have a particular panel which is for handling the graphics, and it's called Essential Graphics. Now, if you don't find it here, you can open it up by going into Window and looking for Essential Graphics, or you can right click and do Edit Properties. So it's gonna bring you here. And you can see we have customizing text and background. So if I turn off the background, I can see what's behind the background. So everything can be customized, and the background here is a vector graphics because it has this pan icon representing vector graphics. So for example, here I can change the opacity. This is the transparency. I can make this a little bit more transparent, and I can change the size. I can make it rounded. So I can round the edge. If I click and drag with the left mouse here, it's going to change this dynamically. Otherwise, you can just go in there and type a value that you want. You can change the color here of the fill. You can add also a stroke around. Now there's a white stroke, and I can increase it. There you go. And you can also add shadows, and you can work with the shadows in many ways, like the extension of the shadows, the direction of the shadow, the opacity of the shadow. Now that's not really going to be visible because it's kind of outside, but we're going to come back also later on, so don't worry. And again, we have move, so you can move the graphic, Control Z to go back. You can resize the graphic, make it smaller, bigger, and you can also position it in another position or change the dimension, the width, the height. You can also align it with other graphics. So if I select more graphics, I can use the alignment to align all of those. Let me see here, for example, here the text and the background. You can select them with the Control key or the Shift key. You can align them like this, so they are perfectly aligned, or vertically or horizontally. You can also distribute them if you have more, etc., etc. So you have some features that you usually have in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and wherever. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because this is not, I think, the best feature that Premiere Pro has. You can easily do this in a vector graphic application. But anyway, we have the background here. We have the text right here. So, well, this is not yet everything we can do with the text. So if I click on the text and go down, we have other options. We do have some style. So you can choose an existing style, or you can create your own style. So you can see here, this is the caption white background style, or just applying the none. And here you can change the text, so the font. So if I look for the one that I downloaded, Berlin Sans, there you go. Now this is the text that I have downloaded. And then you can center this here. You can change the paragraph position, and you can make it in the center of the box. You can change the distance between the letters, between the lines, between all this stuff. And again, this is something you will find in any word processor, so I'm not gonna spend time on this, but you have capital letters, italic, bold, wherever. Fill and stroke. Now, vector graphics are made of two main things, which are the fill and the stroke. And everything is based on a path. So the fill, it's going inside that path. The stroke will go over that path. And I'm also going to show you other examples here because right now it's not really understandable here. So we need to make some other examples. But anyway, you have the possibility to change the fill. If you change the fill color, it's going to change the part that it's inside. The stroke, it's outside, but right now it's kind of white on white, so it's not really visible. There you go. Now we can see the stroke, which could be really big actually, or really small. And let me go back here. And again, we have shadows. Once the shadows are on, you can then change transparency, degrees for the rotation, distance of the shadow, the sharpness or the extension, the blurriness, and there you go. So it's kind of really easy operation to do. You can use as masks, but we're gonna see this later. You can mask with the text, you can mask with vector graphics. Now, every time you click with the text tool on, it's just gonna create new text, but these are all empty, so be careful. Let me delete this, and be careful to be in the selection so you don't do any other additions. So I want to just show you how you can, start from zero, because now we have kind of edited what was here and we imported these vector graphics. But if we want to create our own inside Premiere Pro? So I want to create a new sequence. So right click, new item, sequence, and I'm going to go for the standard here, Full HD. I'm going to call this vector graphics. And before we move on, I want to show you that there are other settings. Well, we already saw this. So you can select a preset. You can set up all the basic parameters here. And if you continue, you can also define more tracks. So if I wanna, I can add directly 6 video tracks and like 4 audio tracks. So you can preset here, and you can also go to VR if you want. So I'm just gonna keep these things as they are, and there you go. We have an empty sequence. We can start to create our own graphics, and we can start with the track number 1 in the video. So if I go down here, the text tool is at the bottom. So you have 2 types of text. You have horizontal, and you can see it's keeping the kind of the style that we created before. So this is going to be horizontal text, and then you have the vertical text, and these are, well, the main 2. And then you can always come back here, underline, double click if you want to underline everything, or click and drag, so you can customize and you can continue to create other pieces of text. So you can go in here, and you can also open the style browser here, and you can create your own style, or you can import styles. So let's call this text style JB. So now I have my own right here. And let me go back here to the tools on the left. So we just discovered the selection tool, the text tool, and now we're going to see the other graphics. Now, if you want to do a customized graphic, you can use the pen tool. And this is going to work just like in other software. So you can click once, you place the first vertex, and then click twice, you have the second vertex. So this is the first vector. And then you continue. If you click once, is going to do a corner. If you click and drag, is going to do a curve, which is called a Bezier, because it has a point or vertex, and then it also has handles that will help you handle the way this curve is going to be created. And then I can continue, again, curve, click and drag to curve, or just click once to do the corner, and then close this up right here. Now you see that if I go in an empty space where there are no vertex, with the pen tool is going to create a new vertex, and then I can also modify that. And if you click, also you have some other editing tools actually, but I'm not going to show you those right now. I'm just going to move forward real quickly. So this is how you can create your customized shape, and you can also rearrange the vertex and the Bezier curves and the Bezier handles, etc., etc. And once you're finished, again, be careful, otherwise you're gonna create more. So go to the selection tool, select. You can resize this. It's never gonna lose quality. There you go. And if I want to modify that, right click, edit properties, you go back to essential graphics, and again, you have the fill. So you can change what's inside the graphic. You can change the stroke of the graphic. You can change, you can click here, you can resize this. You can, do other things like change where that stroke is going. You can use shadows, work with the shadows, masks, and you can mask only with the fill, which is this one here. But we're gonna go back to masks later. So this is a way you can create customized graphics. Also be careful where the pivot is because it's really high. So you can click and position it in the middle. And then you have the rectangle tool. So I'm just gonna click and drag. Now it's creating the rectangle using the same style as before. I cannot see anything here. So let me zoom a lot because right now anything I do is lasting 1 second. Now this is because we define this in the preferences. So if I go back to the edit preferences and go here, let me go here to general. So in the timeline, you can see that every still image or any graphic will last 1 second. So you can change this and make it as the standard, which is 5, or you can make it just 1 frame, as we saw also in the previous video when we want to create like a sequence of PNG images. So depending on what you need to do, you can change this, customize it. Now it's at 1 second, but I can change it and I will see the change later. So now these two are going in the same layer. So you can see we have both, well, actually we have everything in the same layer, like the text and the shapes. If I want to use the other tracks, make sure that you click on that track. You can also like underline it here with the blue. Make sure you are in there. And let's create another rectangle. So I'm gonna click and drag, and now you can see it created a 5 second rectangle. Now also, let me select this. So if I go here, you can find some extra grips like these white dots to make it rounded. So you can make a circle, you can click and drag, make a rectangle, and you can make a button shape or whatever you want to do with this. And let's continue. Let's go to the V3. Again, try to deselect that is not underlined, and we can proceed. Let's create another one. The ellipse. So I'm gonna click and drag, and that's my ellipse. And also, if I want to modify this or any other, I can still go with the pen tool, and I can see the handles here. So I can modify this graphic and make it whatever I want, like a mouth smiling or whatever. So anything you do basically in the vector graphics world, you can do it here. Well, you don't have so many tools, but you have the standards. So last one is the polygon. So I'm just going to create a polygon here, and at first it's going to be a triangle. So I'm going to select, move it here. Again, you can rearrange the sharpness of the corners. You can make it rounded. And then, well, if you want to change the shape, you can go back here. You can also give different names. Okay, now right click and edit properties. So it's going to bring you here. And again, you have the fill, you have the stroke, you have the shadows. And if you go here to the alignment and transform, you also have the possibility to change the size. So you can increase the size of this. So like, let's have 5 side. So this is a pentagon. And we're not able to see this because we have really rounded corners. So let's make this a little less. So 30. So you can handle everything also from here through the parameters or visually here. Now at the beginning, you have also the transform, which you'll find in the effect control. Also, you can change the position, you can change the scale, you can change the rotation also from here. And this also can be animated, but we're going to talk about that in another video. I'm going to show you another couple of interesting panels, like the text panel. Here you can see we have graphics, and then we have also captions, and you can create a new caption track from here. Like this could be subtitles, and you can generate transcriptions, but you need to have dialogues or something speaking in there. So it's gonna, these are what the transcription are about. Now another panel, which is really interesting, is the libraries. So if you have a Creative Cloud account, you can find your assets for other that you know used in other software. Like for example, these were made in After Effects, and then I have like stuff from Photoshop and other stuff from other Adobe software. And we saw the media browser. Another one that I think is interesting is the history. So we can see all the steps we have done so far. You can go back and forward. and now I have like 100 undos, and sometimes this is a low, you're gonna have a low number of undos, so you can change that by going in these three dots, going the settings, and you can change it from here. So you can increase it if you want, and this is gonna give you the possibility to go back and forward easily. And that's it. So this will be all for this video guide. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel, stay updated, join the channel as a supporter if you wanna support us a little bit, and to help us to make more videos. And so thanks for watching. Check out other courses in the channel. See you in the next lesson.